I'm Joel Miller.
And I'm Jamey Bennett.
And this is Bad Books of the Bible.
It's a podcast about a collection of books with a curious pedigree and an even stranger legacy.
Today's episode contains a reading from the Wisdom of Solomon, read by Father Alexis Kouri, host of Daily Orthodox Scriptures on Ancient Faith Radio.
The Wisdom of Solomon, Chapter 11. Wisdom prospered their works by the hand of a holy prophet. They traveled through an uninhabited desert and pitched their tents in impassable places. They held their ground in wars and defended themselves against their enemies. They thirsted and called upon you, and water was given them from a flinty rock, and a quenching of thirst from a hard stone. For through the things by which their enemies were punished, they themselves, when in need, had kindness shown to them. In place of a spring of an ever-flowing river, troubled and defiled with blood, in rebuke of the decree to slay the infants, you gave them abundant water unexpectedly, showing through their thirst at that time how you punished their enemies. For when they were tested, though they were disciplined in mercy, they learned how the ungodly were tormented when judged in wrath. For you tested them, admonishing them like a father, but you examined the ungodly like a severe king passing sentence. Whether present or absent, they were likewise consumed, for twofold grief possessed them, and a groaning over the memory of all that happened. For when they heard that through their own punishments the holy people had kindness shown to them, they understood it was the Lord's doing. For they marveled at the outcome of the man they had cast out mockingly and exposed long before, for they did not thirst for godliness as do the righteous, in return for the wrongdoing of their senseless reasoning, in which they were led astray, and worshipped irrational serpents and worthless animals. You sent upon them a multitude of animals in vengeance, so they might learn that one is punished by the things by which he sins. For your all-powerful hand, which created the world out of unformed matter, did not lack the resource to send upon them a multitude of bears or bold lions, or newly created unknown beasts full of anger, either snorting a breath of fire, or scattering like chaff a thick cloud of smoke, or flashing terrible sparks from their eyes. Not only could their damage utterly destroy men, but their mere outward appearance could terrify and kill them. Even without these, men could fall in a single breath when they are pursued by justice, and scattered like chaff by the breath of your power. But you have ordered all things by measure, number, and weight. For great power is always present with you, and who can oppose the might of your arm? Because the entire world before you is like a small additional weight on scales, and like a drop of dew early in the morning that falls on the ground. But you are merciful to all. You can do all things, and you overlook the sins of men to bring them to repentance. For you love all the things that exist, and you detest nothing of the things you made. For you would not even make anything you hated. How could anything continue to exist unless you willed it? Or how could anything be preserved unless it was called into existence by you? You spare all things because they are yours, O Master who love human beings. The Wisdom of Solomon, Chapter 12. For your immortal spirit is in all things. For this reason you correct little by little those who fall away, and you remind and warn them of the sins they commit, so they may be freed from evil and believe in you, O Lord. For you hated the inhabitants of your holy land long ago, because they practiced very hateful works of sorcery and unholy rites. These unmerciful murderers of children, who ate sacrificial meals of human flesh and blood, these initiates in the midst of an orgy, these parents and murderers of helpless children, you willed to destroy by the hands of our fathers, that the land most precious of all to you might be a worthy colony of the servants of God. But even these you spared, since they were men, and sent wasps as forerunners of your army, that you might destroy them little by little. You were not powerless to give the ungodly to the righteous in regular battle, or to destroy them by terrible wild beasts, or by one severe word. But judging them little by little, you gave them a chance for repentance. For you were not unaware that their generation was evil, their vice implanted, and their reasoning would not change forever. For they were an accursed seed from the beginning, nor did you give them amnesty for their sins, because you feared anyone. For who will say, "What have you done?" Or who will oppose your judgment? Who will bring a charge against you for destroying the nations you made? Or who will stand before you to plead as an advocate for unrighteous men? For neither is there any God except you, whose care is for all things, so you may show that you do not judge unjustly, nor can any king or tyrant meet you face to face concerning those you punish. You are righteous and order all things uprightly, and you consider it alien to your power to pass sentence on him who should not be punished. For your strength is the origin of righteousness, and it causes you who are the Lord of all to spare all. For to him who disbelieves the perfection of your power, you show forth your strength and rebuke the insolence among those who know it. But you who gain the mastery by your strength judge with gentleness, for you govern us with great forbearance, and power is present with you to use when you will it. Through such works you taught your people that the righteous man should love mankind, and you made your children hopeful by offering them repentance over their sins. For if you punished the enemies of your children, and those liable to death with so much attention and deliberation, and granted them time and opportunity to depart from their evil, with how much strictness did you judge your children, to whose fathers you gave oaths and covenants of good promises? So then you chastened us, but our enemies, with 10,000 whips, that we may care about your goodness when we judge, but expect your mercy when we are judged. Therefore, those who lived unjustly in their foolishness of life, you tormented by means of their own abominations. For they went far astray on the paths of error, taking up gods which were despised even among their enemies, being deceived after the manner of foolish children. Therefore to those thoughtless children you sent your judgment to mock them. But those who were not warned by this light gesture of censure will be put to the test by the deserved judgment of God. For when they suffered, they were indignant at those they imagined to be gods, realizing they were being punished because of them. They also came to recognize the true God whom they refused to know long ago. Therefore the utmost of condemnation came upon them.
Thanks for listening to today's reading. Father Alexis Kouri's podcast, Daily Orthodox Scriptures, can be heard on Ancient Faith Radio.
You can find our podcast, along with show notes, our mailing list, our Twitter feed, and our Ancient Faith homepage, all linked at badbooksofthebible.com.
I'm Jamey Bennett.
And I'm Joel Miller.
And you've been listening to Bad Books of the Bible,
a production of Ancient Faith Radio. Tune in next time to listen in on our conversation about this very passage.